Hello, this is Nancy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am participating in the collab, Your Take on Tiny Treasures. I'll speak of that later on in the video. The first project I'm featuring here is the bed that I made for my mini bedroom. For the side rails and the front rails, I used the Jenga blocks or tumbling tower blocks. And you're going to have the sides at 5 5/8 inches long, and the front is 4 5/8 inches long. So you're going to make two of each of those. Once those are dry, we're going to pull out the 3/8 inch square dowel, and we're going to cut 4 pieces that are 7.5 inches tall. And then from the 1/4 inch square dowel, you're going to cut 2 pieces that are 5 5/8 long, and 3 pieces that are 4 5/8 long. You're going to grab the 4 posts that are 7.5 inches long and measure 3/4 inch from the bottom, and this will be the bottom of your side rails. So those Jenga pieces, you're going to be gluing that to the bottom of the Jenga pieces will be glued onto that line. Hopefully that makes sense. Once the side rails are glued to the posts, you let that dry, and then you're going to add the front and back rails and let that dry. Before you attach the two sides together, we're going to use the 1/4" dowels that I mentioned to cut them at 2 of them at 5 5/8, 3 of them at 4 5/8, and you're going to glue them about, I will say, a 1/2 inch from the top. But that's your preference. If you want it lower or just flush to the top is fine. And let that dry before you add the second side. For the headboard, you're going to be gluing 4 tumbling tower blocks the horizontal way to the back, and then on top of those Jenga blocks, you're going to add the third piece of the 4 5/8 1/4" square dowel. I was designing this bed as I went, so you're gonna see steps out of order, but I'm trying to give you the best way to put it together. This video is part of a collab, Your Take on Tiny Treasures, hosted by a happy hoarder and myself. I'll leave her link down below as well as the playlist. Once the bed frame is dry, you're going to flip it upside down, and we're going to use some popsicle sticks and cut them down to size and glue them to the bottom of the bed frame so we can add the mattress and box spring. Now to DIY number 2, the dresser. This is one of the not the hardest but more time consuming, and you have to be meticulous with your measurements. I got the idea how to make the rails for the drawers from Kat at the Square to Spare. I'll leave her link down below where she makes her drawers. And I'm using 2x2 pieces of wood because I didn't have full sheets. So if you need it, if you have the full sheets, I just cut the sides in the center to 2 inches by 4 inches. On the top, I glued popsicle sticks side by side, and then I doubled that up to make the top of the dresser sturdier. Once the top is done, you're going to cut it to the width of the side. So you're going to cut a little bit off to make sure that the top of the box or dresser is 2 inches wide as well. I'm measuring about 1/8 of an inch around the perimeter of the top of the dresser, because on each of those corners I'm going to be gluing a 1/4 inch square dowel to make the framework of the dresser. The reason for the 1/8 inch line around the dresser lid is so when I add the sides in the front and the back, it's flush with the top of the dresser. Once again, I'm designing as I go, so sometimes something didn't work or I have to start over again. So I'm cutting more of those 1/4 inch square dowels, and you're gonna glue them to the top between the two sides and the center, and they'll give you the top of that first drawer. I'm cutting the bottom piece of the dresser, but I don't glue it on until after I finish the drawers. You're going to do the same thing as the top. Cut 2 layers of the popsicle sticks, the width of and the depth of the dresser. Now, depending on how many drawers you have, you're going to draw some horizontal lines on the front of the dresser, and that's where you're going to be putting the rails. I'm using the craft matchsticks for the rails of the dresser drawers. Measure. I say to myself, because just an eighth of an inch on these tiny items can mess up the rest of your project. So just make sure I go back and over to make sure that they're all straight and level. If you have any questions on any of these projects, just drop it down in the comments below. So I have the little rails for the left side there, so I'm measuring to make sure that the right side will be the same, because you want the drawers to be even with each other, unless you want bigger drawers and smaller drawers, so that depends on how you want your dresser laid out. Once the rails are in, I attach the bottom of the dresser and let that dry up. And then I'm going to add some framing with some wooden coffee stirrers. I'm using the 2-inch squares that I had before already, and I cut them down to make the bottom of the drawers. So depending on the size of your drawer, that's what you're going to be using for the bottom of the drawer. You want it to be the width of that area and the depth of that area, because the drawers will be on top of the actual side frames. The side of the drawers and the back of the drawers will be shorter than where the rails are on your dresser. So if it's an inch from one rail to the next, you need to make those at least 3/4 inch. And then you slide it in, and once you have the box of the dresser in, then you're gonna glue the cover or the dresser cover, whatever drawer, onto it once it's in place. If you're liking this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, comment below which of these projects did you like the best, and consider subscribing. I'm doing my next mini room, which is a library/den, so hit that notification bell so you can see what comes up next. This is where that box of the drawer is in there, and I'm going to glue it and then add the drawer front, because you want this to be flush with the sides and of the drawer itself. I hope that makes sense. After this, I added some a framing around the drawer front with some of the wooden coffee stirrers, and then you'll make this 8 times. Now on to DIY number 3, the 9-cube shelving unit. This is probably the easiest one. You probably won't be able to find these, but each of these squares measures 13 inches. I mean, it ends up being about 12 inches in real life, so it's about 1 inch across. I found these wooden cutouts at Dollar Tree, and I thought that the little holder was just the right size. So I popped off the back of one of them with my heat gun. Once you heat up that glue, it pops right off. And here I only showed 2 of them, but once I finished the project, I thought it was still too narrow, and I was able to find another one of those little boxes, and I did the same thing, take off the back and glued it on top to make it 3 deep, but it ends up being about 1 inch deep. So it's like a equivalent to a 3x3 calyx from IKEA. I put some lightweight spackling in between the seams so you wouldn't see them, but in the end I also, when I get my basswood, I cut a piece that's the width of the calyx unit there and the length, so that way, and I glued it on top so you don't see the lines at all. Now for DIY number 4, the full-length mirror. I believe this is probably one of my favorite pieces in the room. We're going to cut the wood for the frame of the mirror at 1 3/4 by 5. And we're going to be using 1/4 inch dowels, square dowels for the legs and the base. And you're going to cut 2 pieces at 4 inches and 2 pieces at 2 inches. And for the back of attached to the mirror, you're going to have little scrap pieces of the 1/4 inch square dowel. And all of these are going to be drilled, and I'm going to be using a sandwich pick. It's like a small mini skewer to put through all those 4 pieces so the mirror can actually swivel. Here I finished gluing the frame, and I'm putting the clips because I want a nice tight seal. I don't want no seams popping off on this mirror, because like I said, these small things, the little details make a difference. Make sure you use the drill bit that is the right size for your skewer. You don't want it too big or too small, because if it's too small you can't put it through. Too big, the mirror won't stay in the position that you put it. So I'm here, I'm testing to make sure that it all fits together. Don't forget to watch the rest of the playlist. They have some amazing mini projects. Everybody did something different, and maybe you get inspired to do your own mini project. I'm going to attach a playlist of all the miniature lives that we did that will show more of the rest of the bedroom, and that way you can see how to make some of the other pieces of the bedroom. So until next time, be brave, be strong, and create something tiny.